these roundtables. And this subject here is South American and international collaborations. We will have 3 to 5 minute contributions from each of the panelists. I'll take them alphabetically, starting with Q. And so David will go at the end, speaking position. And now you've met already, Fernando and David, but perhaps before we begin, our other two panelists, Antonio and Neil, could just say briefly who they are before we start. Please, we just explain, just say in 2 or 3 words who you are.
Okay, so I'm Antonio José Roque da Silva. I'm director of the Synchrotron Light Source. I'm also a professor at the University of São Paulo, and I'm representing here, I'm a member also of the Latin American Center for Physics, so I'm representing here this, the president that couldn't come.
Yes, I'm Neil Turok. I'm director of the Perimeter Institute, and I'm also the founder of the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, and hope to speak about some of the lessons I've learned about how to create new institutes from scratch which make a difference.
Thank you. So now, Fernando, would you like to begin by giving us 3 to 5 minutes introduction?
Good. Thank you, Peter. It's good that, thank you for inviting me to this panel. For me, it's very important, this international collaborations, in particular for South America. Just as a personal experience, when I left Guatemala to go to the United States, for me it was mind-opening to meet all these Latin American colleagues or students who were doing the same as I was doing. That in the place that we were all foreigners, and we all felt like brothers and sisters since the beginning, even though we hadn't been in each other's country. So that's a beautiful thing that I think Latin America has to explore, because we are 20-something countries united by 2 different languages or something, which are very similar, so we can understand each other. So in that sense, that's very good. So that's the South American part. In general, for international collaborations, one of the premises that we always work is that, which I think is true, is 2 things. One is that science is completely global. It's one of the few endeavors that is global, it's completely independent of countries and regions, etc. And the other premise is that essentially the distribution of IQ is essentially uniform worldwide. So in that sense, people with the capacity to do science exist in every single country in the world, and we should try to give everybody as much opportunity as possible to bring their talents to the best. And the international collaborations, I think, are ideal for this target, because I think there's different countries of people from different regions. They need to communicate with each other and teach each other. So one of the experiences I also had is that when I moved from the United States to Europe, I was lucky enough to go to 2 independent organizations, but both were international collaborations. The first one was ICTP, that I happen to be the director now. So I spent 3 weeks there before going to my first postdoc, which was at CERN. And the 2 institutions are different, but they opened my mind in a way that how important it is to have this international component in science that I had not seen so striking before. And so international institutions, like what we are discussing now, that we are celebrating the 5th anniversary now, and many others like ICTP, Perimeter, IAS, and ITP, and many others, I think they play an important role for this international collaboration. And I think that's one way to make a big difference. But also networks of research subjects. And one of the things that I find interesting that has been happening in Latin America recently is that people get involved, even theorists and experimentalists in my field, which is high energy physics, into projects, into collaborations. So there was this initiative called HELEN, which is High Energy Latin American European Network, that played an important role to channel the research of several groups of scientists in different countries, because they were even though some of them were theorists, they became experimentalists and being part of one of the experiments, like LHC experiments and so on. And I think that makes a big difference. Being part of international collaboration, that's very important, and that gives also some guidance to the research, because sometimes people are isolated, or just that they don't know exactly what the best research area they can take, and being part of these collaborations, they get involved into something very concrete. And something similar is so in Argentina, in Managua, with the Piero J. Institute. I think that's an example that something like this can be done in Latin America at the highest level. So, well, what else can I say? The international collaboration is the best thing to go to the scientists. So,
Thank you. Antonio.
Okay, I'll use some slides to move faster. First of all, I'll talk about the CLAF, or Latin American Center of Physics. It's an institution of 54 years. As I said, I'm representing here the president of CLAF. I'm a deputy representative of Brazil. There are many countries in Latin America that are involved. And an important point I want to make here is that it's an international organization that is sanctioned by UNESCO, and it's a proper legal framework for international collaborations. And I think it's being underused in Brazil and South America and Latin America in general for international collaborations. I'll make a comment at the end of my talk, but this is something important to keep in mind. It's located in Rio, so everybody likes to show a big picture of Rio de Janeiro, so here it is. And these are the member countries today. And what is CLAF doing? It has been said here already, so I will just repeat in a sense that not only in Brazil you have all these inequalities that have been mentioned in the past table, but in Latin America as a whole, you have a situation that's quite different in different countries. So the inequalities between the countries is also a big issue. Since we're talking about international collaborations, this is something that also should be kept in mind. And most of the activities are connected to training and upgrading human resources, so interchange of people, so fellowships, etc. Exchange between institutions, schools, courses, and things like that. That's what CLAF has been mostly involved up to now. So you can check all these activities on the webpage. This is just a printout of the webpage. So you can go there and you can see that they post calls for fellowships and etc. I will quote, because we are celebrating here the ICTP 50 years, so they have a partnership with ICTP for fellowships between Latin American countries. So you can go from one country to another country with a fellowship that you can apply at the CLAF. And also you have agreements between international institutions and CLAF, and then you can look up at the webpage to get support. One thing that the Latin American Center is trying to do now is to change a little bit gears regarding the activities. So they are trying to identify, let's say, more solid projects to try to get involved with these solid projects. And I'll mention one that I think is a very interesting one, the Andes project. So a tunnel is being, hopefully is being constructed. It seems that this past month, governments from Chile and Argentina have agreed to move forward this project. It's going to be a tunnel connecting right at the border between Argentina and Chile, to have this sort of highway here. And there is a path of, I don't know, more than 100 kilometers, I think, when you are in the winter, makes the traffic very difficult. So the idea is to build a tunnel that goes from one country to the other, and so there is an opportunity to build an underground lab. So it would be the first underground lab at this level in South America, and this could be very important for the region. So you could be a player in research like neutrinos, in dark matter and other fields. I don't know if many of you know of this project, but it's an interesting project. And CLAFI, the Latin American Center, is let's say, even though you're going to build, the idea is to have some structure, legal structure similar to CERN, is through CLAFI that the countries can transfer money to be used at the project. So that's what I'm saying, they have the legal structure proper for large collaborations like this. So you can transfer Brazil, Argentina, Chile, etc. They can transfer money through CLAFI quite easily. And I think with tax breaks, because it's an international institution, and this money can go directly to the project. So I think this is what I meant by proper legal structure for big projects. And also they have signed an agreement with CERN for the grid, so the countries can join through CLAFI the LHC grid, even though we have all the different groups in Brazil that we know are working on the grid. CLAFI itself has an MOU with CERN, so any different country can join through CLAFI this world LHC computer grid. So this is what I mean by, again, proper framework, legal framework. And then recently signed an agreement with the Max Planck Institute for Complex Systems. So we heard stuff about complex systems today, and they provide fellowships, so they have an agreement. Any member, any student willing to do a PhD there can apply through CLAFI to fellowships, either full-time or 1 year, as we call here in Brazil, sandwich fellowships to go there. So I'll switch gears. So this is to show the things and activities that CLAFI are doing, the activities that are being done by CLAFI. And I will end this CLAFI part to say, I think it's underused by the member countries and in a project like this one. Okay, I'll finish. So this is, I would say, a large infrastructure. It has been mentioned many times here. And I would say maybe it's the largest scientific infrastructure project ever built in Brazil, which is the new synchrotron light source. So Brazil has been a pioneer in the southern hemisphere to build the first synchrotron light source in the southern hemisphere. It's already an important site for international collaboration. We have already about 20% of users, between 16 and 18% from international users, most of them from Argentina, and many different countries from Latin America come to use this synchrotron. And it's a second generation light source, as mentioned here, and this is losing competitiveness. So Brazil has a project to be one of the leaders in this field. So Luis was talking about having a field where Brazil can be leadership. This is exactly it in a large project. This is planned to be one of the first fourth generation light sources, opening paving many new areas of research where you can in fact do new kind of research. For example, in biology and etc. So it will have one of the brightest, it will be one of the brightest light sources in the world. In fact, when it's planned to start operation in 2018, will be the brightest light source with large fraction of coherence. So in biology, you'll be able to do many new experiments, especially on tomography and complex systems and cell biology and etc. So in fact, Brazil can be leadership in many let's say, fields if the community gets involved more and more with the project. It's on schedule, as Brito Cruz mentioned. The building is here, about 35% concluded. All the technical challenges have been, let's say, solved, and we are about to put procurements for buying. And this is a great opportunity for international collaboration, because in fact you can attract people to come and use this. So if Brazil is smart enough, you can couple with many programs via FAPESP, CNPq, and many other agencies.
Limited did everything in new ways. Everything, okay? Public outreach was put on an equal significance to basic research, and that has paid off enormously. Summer schools for students, international master's program, our PSI program, which now has the highest number of applicants of any master's program in North America, and also the highest proportion of our offers are accepted. Number of offers we make, 68% are accepted. That's higher than anywhere else in North America. Okay, why? Because we treat the students well. We give them what they need in order to become successful young scientists. And so this ocean of underperformance in physics creates opportunities. And I believe this center is beginning to do things right. And it could really take off quickly with the right decisions, the right support. A lot of us internationally want to support this happening here. There's an ocean of talent in Latin America that's been already referred to, which is currently not being developed and being frustrated. So I believe by clearly recognizing our profession and our field's many failures, we will actually see huge opportunities. And I'm happy to talk more about that.
Thanks very much. David.
Much as I would like to disagree with much of my esteemed colleague to the left, I won't spend my precious time doing so. Let me remark that, when I first came to South America years ago, I was astonished at a variety of things. First of all, the obvious potential that exists in this country, in the country to the south, in the country to the west. And I could never exactly understand, and I still can't understand. I ask my friends, what's the matter? They can't explain it. I continue to be astonished at the lack of regional cooperation between Argentina, Brazil, and Chile. That wasn't really addressed. There was talk about it. I'm delighted to hear of CLAP. But I don't get it. I really don't understand. And this really wasn't seriously addressed here. People talk about it and decry the fact that it doesn't happen more often, but it's really up to you guys to deal with that. I was also surprised back then at the fact that in South America, the academics looked, perhaps because of the long colonial past, to Europe instead of the United States. That seems to have changed in recent years. But again, you talked a lot about international collaboration. It's now more north as well as east, but you never talk about Asia, a rising scientific giant which has gone from a position way below South America to well above in a few decades. And you seem to have no desire, even no discussion of the scientific opportunities for collaborations, not just with the US or with Europe, but with Asia, maybe even Africa. The other thing I must say I was really depressed a bit about in the last few panels was the pessimism. I mean, I heard remarks that we're in this mess for 10 years, no, 20 years. There's nothing we can do. But in the last session, there was a remark by our journalist friend who said that we have a resource, and I should take this to heart going back home. Us scientists have a resource that we're simply not exploiting, which is the confidence of the public. And as he said, you know, we rank after the Marines, just after. And they don't deserve it. And here, I think we're sort of at the top. Now that is an untapped resource. Now one of the reasons that everybody respects us is that we're so respectful, unlike what Neil just said. We really have done miracles in 100 years. My God, double human longevity. You know the story. So that's part of it. The other part of it is we don't go out and lobby for ourselves. We really don't. We're very modest. So the people who sat on this panel from Brazil and who said, we're in for 10 years of austerity, and we're going to have to tighten our belts and not do the investments in higher education, in science, and research, development, and that's inevitable, nothing we can do about it, are making the biggest possible mistake, because those are not costs those are investments, and you have to make the obvious case, which, by the way, in America, we have been making for 20 years and succeeding, and doubling the number of students going into physics and engineering and so on, that these are necessary investments. You're not going to be able to provide these, so you can convince the public, perhaps, because they respect you. Now, if you spend those resources of respect and confidence in promoting science, you'll lose some of that respect. People will say, oh, you're just lobbying for yourself, but you know that you're right. So, and you know, the thing about capital and resources, use it or lose it.
Thanks very much. I'm going to ask now for questions or comments from the audience, so please.
Well, just to say about your last talk, very pertinent, but we have fought. We have fought. The Brazilian Academy of Sciences has fought. The Brazilian Association for the Advancement of Science has fought. We are fighting a lot with the help of people like Hertel Escobar, or there he is, who really, the press is helping us. And it's a hard fight, but we are going to Congress. On Thursday, we'll be with the President of Brazil. So we are fighting. We're fighting hard through the press, through the radio, through TV. We are denouncing this, that you are right. You can have an austerity program, but if you don't invest in science and technology, that is going to fail. That's for sure. Because you are counting on an increase of the gross national product that must be there in order for the program to succeed. And increase of the gross national product nowadays in Brazil means technological innovation, science. So they must do it. Now our economists, and quite different from economists in other places, consider that science is something on the side. And I know that in other countries of the world, there are economists who consider that as a basic ingredient of development. So we are talking with our economists on that. So we are fighting hard. It's a tough situation, but we are fighting. That's what I wanted to say.
Other comments? Questions? One over here. Yeah.
I think I'm the only talking about international collaboration. I think I'm the only LIGO member left in this room. Gabi Gonzalez has to leave to attend an interim meeting, so she asked me to report a couple of words. So I think everybody in this room knows the LIGO scientific collaboration. And if you look at the map of the labs affiliated to the collaboration, there are labs in Australia, in China, in Europe, in North America, but if you focus on America, south of Texas, there are just 2 labs with 7-ish people affiliated in the São Paulo state. So Latin America can do much more. LIGO expects Latin America to do much more for LIGO, both on the theory, data analysis side, and the technology development. And maybe in the medium term, also why not considering another LIGO lab in Latin America. I won't make here the scientific case of having a lab in the southern hemisphere. That's important for scientific issues. But you know, having an attractor, attracting students with the possibility to join such an international and successful collaboration can be an asset for Latin America. And what Gabi wants to make the point about is really Latin American students and researchers should be an asset for LIGO, which are not at the moment. We are, I'm not Brazilian, but I work in Brazil, and we are, I think, 7 people in Brazil, in São Paulo State, affiliated to LIGO. And that's all of it in Latin America. Much more can be done.
Yes.
Yes, I have a few comments. I'm actually the coordinator in Chile of the Andes proposal, and indeed CLAF has been very important for us to be able to finance the conceptual study that you actually showed there, done by the company, because we were able from 2 countries to put some money there and to give account of what we were doing. Of course, we need more money to actually build the lab, but this is the next step. And I think it would be certainly a very valuable collaboration from CLAF if the Chilean government would receive a letter from CLAF saying that this is an important project for the whole Latin America, and they should give somehow their word either of support or give an answer if they are interested in this. Because it has been difficult. Chile doesn't have a Ministry of Science, so somehow they don't know exactly how to address the political decision of saying, yes, we want this. Actually, my last work on this was to get a letter from Art MacDonald, who's a Nobel Prize winner of the previous year in the experiments in Canada, and he just told me, just tell me who I should write a letter, and I will do it. And he did. But I still don't have any answer from that. Maybe we need a letter from another Nobel laureate.
Fernando, do you want to comment?
Comments, yes, with respect to your comment, Claudia, I think we have been talking the last few hours and last night about this project with Andes, and I think that's a good opportunity that probably the whole community of Latin American high-energy physicists should work for it, because I think that's a very concrete proposal that makes a lot of sense and will unify the whole community. So anything we can do, I think we were discussing together also at lunch with the members of the Congress and Congress.